All right, everybody. Thank you for joining me for another mystery stamping. And this one is going to be, I think, fun. It's a card that I've never tried before, so this was my first time of doing this card. So I'm hoping that if you haven't made this card in the past, that doing it through this, having someone like step by step walk you through it, that it'll be an easy card for you, because I've looked at it in the past and thought, well, it's not a bad card, but I'm not certain I want to tackle this card yet. But I've tried it now and I like this card, and I think you guys will too, because it's a fun fold and it gives you kind of a little bit of a wow factor. So we will get started on the pieces that we're going to need. I have mine in a little bag here. All right, so the first piece is a piece of cardstock that is 11 inches by 4 1/4, and it is scored at 5 1/2 right here in the middle. And then I have another piece, I'm gonna slide this over here, that is 1 3/4 by 11, and it is scored at 2 3/4, 5 1/2, and 8 1/4. And then the next piece is 1 1/8 by 5 1/8. I have 4 pieces, 4 squares here that are 2 1/2 by 2 1/2. I do have some coordinating cardstock. I have Granny Apple Green. This is Balmy Blue, by the way. This is Granny Apple Green. I'm thinking this is Bumblebee, Real Red, and then this is, it used to be Craft, and I can't place what it is right at the moment. I will try to remember that, what it is. And then our next piece is Coordinating DSP, and pattern 1 is on a landscape. It is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. I also have 2 more pieces that, if it's a directional, it would be on a landscape, and it is 5 1/4 by 4. Then we have Basic White, which is 4 inches by 5 1/4. I have a 1 inch by 5 1/8. 4 pieces that are 2 1/4 by 2 1/4. And then I also have some scrap pieces here for my images, and I put a little notch on the corner so that I would know these are my scrap pieces. And then if you want any ribbons or anything to embellish this with, and the stamp set that I'm going to use in the dies is, I'm doing the Counting Sheep. It's Sale-A-Bration, so I really like this stamp set and these dies, so I thought, well, I'm going to try and do this fun fold with this stamp set and die again. And then the inks that I'm going to use is the Memento, or not Memento, Memento. I keep calling it the wrong thing. The Memento ink, because I'm going to use some of my stamping blends. So I have my colors that I'm going to use are light daffodil. Let's see, a dark daffodil, I believe, maybe. I might not use all these, but I'm gonna bring them in anyway. Light crumb cake. Let's see, I've got dark pink petal. I have light smoky slate, light mint macaron, and then I have my color lifter. I'm going to set this off here to the side. And because I'm using the blends, that's why I'm using the Memento ink. Okay, so, and then I'm just going to use an array of adhesives. I'm going to use the Dimensionals, stamping seal, liquid glue, different things like that. So we will get started. I'll set this off to the side and we'll get started. All right, so the first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and get my stamping so that it has a chance to dry before I start coloring it in with the blends. Bring in my blocks. And I want each of the little sheep. Whoops, wrong block. Then I want to bring in for the words. I think I'm going to use every one of the stamps in the stamp set. I like when you do a card and you use every one of them. That means that I feel like, oh, I got my money's worth out of that one, and this one's a free one. So anyway, and then we will use the dies here shortly. So I'll set that off to the side. All right, so move those. Bring in the Memento ink. And on each one of these pieces, I want to stamp one of my sheep. And then, being this is one of the larger ones, I want to stamp a couple of the hats. So you would be stamping your images, anything that you might need to cut out, or if you're going to need to color, you would be doing that now. Next sheet. Set them off. This guy in. All right. So for right now, I'm going to go ahead and close this. Set it to the side. I'll bring in my chamois. Get this cleaned up and then set them off to the side. All right. So why these are taking a moment to dry, you want to make certain they're good and dry, or whenever you go to color, it will smear. All right, so I'm setting my DSP pieces to the side and I'm bringing in my card base. I'm going to take it, it's on the 11-inch side and it's scored at 5.5, so it's in the middle. I'll fold in half. Line up my edges. And then burnish my crease. And there's my card base. All right, so I'm going to take the piece that there was one of the DSP, and I'm going to add it to the front of my card. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm sorry. The piece of the basic white, I'm going to add it to the piece of basic white. I am so sorry. Or if you may have very vanilla. I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Seal. And then add to my basic white piece, and it's going to have about an 1/8 inch border all the way around. And then sometimes there's a rough edge here. If you have like a nail block, you can rough that across there to knock anything of the edges off. Mine's not bad enough that I need to do that. Okay, now I'm going to put Stampin' Seal on the back of this and add to the front. So I'm just layering for my card front. Didn't mean to lead you astray with the DSP first, but I'm gonna layer. So right now, this is our card front. Okay, so we're going to open the card. And then we're going to bring in the other two pieces of DSP. That's a pretty sign. So I'm using the DSP from the Sweet as a Peach. I'm using the neutral sides. Add that to right here. And I'm going to add to this one as well. Oh, that just ran out. Bring in my Seal Plus. And then add to this side. So basically we're adding the DSP to the whole inside of the card. Okay. All right. Now then, the strip of cardstock that matches your card base. It's 11 inches long, and the score marks are equal, like it's scored in the middle, and then it's each section scored in the middle. So I'm going to fold back. So I just basically folded that strip in half. And then as it's folded in half, I'm going to lay it down on my work surface. And I'm going to pick up the edge and then fold it back against itself. So here's my score line. And then I'm going to fold on this score line. And I want to make certain I line it up here. And then basically I'm just going to flip it completely over so that my score, where I just folded, is back here at the back. So I'm going to lay it down. So the score line's to the left now, to the right now. I'm going to fold it like this. So basically, when you're finished, it should look something like this. So it looks kind of like a W. So this should be a W fold card. This is what the fun fold card is. All right. So then what we're going to do is we are going to add a strong adhesive, either tear tape, liquid glue, or Stampin' Seal Plus. We're going to add to our edges here on the end. So I'm going to use liquid glue, and I'm just adding not very much, just on these edges. There. All right. But if you have tear tape, if you put, a couple strips of tear tape, if you have Stampin' Seal, do a couple swipes of that. I'm using liquid glue. So this is a mountain. Here's a valley. Here's a mountain. And on the edges of the mountain is where I'm putting the glue. So if I were to close this all up, The glue would be out here and back here. Then I'm going to put the glue side down. So now I've got an it's the W. I want to add to the center of the card over here to the edge. Line it up. And then I want to take this over here to this edge and line it up. And if it bows in the middle a little bit, that's fine. And then I want to hold those in place for a moment because I'm using liquid glue. So that when you're doing this, you don't see your mechanism on the inside. You have this. So if you're looking at it backwards, I guess there's your W. Okay. So if you're using liquid glue, make certain you hold it for a few moments or it'll slide. Okay. So I'm now going to close that and make certain I press well. I want it to be good and adhered. I have a clothespin. I'm going to put it right there. I want it to hold and sit up well. So I'm just going to sit this right here. So now then I'm going to color in my sheep. Give you guys a chance to catch up if you're crafting along. And then I'm going to color in my sheep. So I'm wanting to bring in the dark petal pink. I'll do his ears, his face, and I'm not having to color it all in. Okay. Now I'm going to bring in the light smoky slate. I'm going to add some highlighting to the already highlighted marks on that they put on the stamp, and then I'm going to add some like around his face and like under his chin. They put these little marks in there, and it helps with when you're adding your coloring to it to kind of know where to put some of your markings. And I'm not being real precise. I'm going to come in and color in his legs and his hooves. All right. Now I'm going to go back and do his hooves again. I want them to be a little bit darker. And you have to let the color dry a little bit before you add more. And then, but you can keep building color and making it darker by just adding more of the same color. So I'm not adding it to the legs because I want the color to build up on the hooves. All right, there we go. I'm going to add some color to the hats, the party hats. I'm going to do the party hats in yellow. I'm going to bring in the light mint macaron and add to the polka dots. And then this one here, I'm going to add just a little bit to the eye. Then I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Blend color lifter. And what I'm going to do is swirl the face. That will blend out the color and lighten it a little bit. And I'm blending in where I've put that little bit of color on his eye. I like the brush tip better than the other end. Some people like the other end. Okay, so now that I have the faces, I'm going to go and blend out where I highlighted for the fur, or for the wool, I guess. And if you swirl in circles and draw it down, that sound, I don't know, if it's not making that sound a lot, then a lot of times I think that it might be a little bit dry. Don't want to run it across the hooves by no means. I want those to stay dark, but I will the legs. And it just kind of gives him a little bit of dimension. While blending that out. Kind of an annoying sound, but it's crafting. And it kind of, I don't know if you can tell, but this one's lighter than this one because it blends it out. It gets darker as you go over it, but then as it dries, it lightens it up. Almost finished there. That sound. All right, put my caps back on. I think I need to get another one because I had to switch to the end that is not my favorite. All right, so those are finished. Now the strip that is 1 1/8 by 5 1/8. This is where I'm going to put one of my sentiments. And so on this one here, I want to put, so glad it's your birthday. So I'll make certain that is stuck down. Bring in the Memento ink again. And I'm going to add my sentiment to the far right because of where I'm going to put my placement for my imagery. Hopefully that's straight. Got a little bit of halo there. I think it'll be okay. I can put something there to cover that up. All right. The piece that is the same color of your card base, and mine is the balmy blue. Okay, this is, oh, this piece was 1 inch by 5 1/8. I'm sorry. And this one is 1 1/8 by 5 1/8. I'm going to layer this on here. It should be the same length, but it should have a bit of a border on the top and the bottom. So I'm going to add my piece to my piece of cardstock. Lay that down. All right, so line up the end. All right, looks pretty good. This should be good and ready to go to start adding things to it. I'm now going to add this to my card, not exactly right in the middle, just a bit down from the middle. And it is the same width as the DSP. So I'm going to add my adhesive to the back and then adhere it right here. So bring this in here, just a little past the halfway mark, weighted towards the bottom. All right, so my card's starting to come together. So here's the front of my card. And here's the inside of my card. All right, so I'll set this off to the side. Now then, the 4 pieces of the basic white that are 2 1/4, bring those in. And I've decided that 2 of mine are going to be sentiments and 2 of mine are going to be for images. So these images that I've colored here. So I need to grab my Granny Apple Green. I took it off my desk. I couldn't remember what I was going to use it for. So I'm going to open this up for my ink. And then I want You're Amazing. And I'm going to stamp it on one of the bring in a little scratch piece of paper here to put under. So I want to check it. Yep, no halo. I'm lightly touching. Now in the middle, I'm going to put my first sentiment, You're Amazing. That looks pretty good. So I'll set that off to the side. And then the next stamp that we're going to use is it's the host set that you can order. I'm trying to remember the name of it. Thoughts in My Thoughts, in Your Thoughts. I will tell you that as soon as I can remember it. So I'm going to add this and I'm going to, it says, thinking of you on your special day. Okay. So I want to close. I don't want to close that yet. I'm going to bring in my other 2 pieces that I'm going to put my images on. I'm going to bring in the grass. And I'm going to stamp, 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 stamp. I'm just getting different. I'll turn that over because there's a halo on that. 2 sides to every project. These are so small that I really like to trim off some of it, but it's so small I'm afraid that it would be a problem. So I just want to make certain and only get the on the grass. So I'm stamping multiple times without really re-inking just to have my grass. So I have my 2 pieces for my grass for my images. They look better than the first one I did. Light hand whenever you're doing really small stamps. Clean my stamps up or stick my hand in something. Close the sink up. Side. I'll clean up my work area here a bit. All right. So what you can do next is layer these 4 pieces of basic white onto your card base colored squares. It should be an even border all the way around. Sometimes when you're using Stampin' Seal, it keeps on going and you have to press the glue back behind the piece of cardstock. Try to break it off before the end, but sometimes it keeps going. All right. So now then I want to bring in my card base again, open it up, and I want to add my panels inside like this. But you're only going to put the adhesive on this strip, not on the back of these, because then you may end up gluing it to your card base. I'm just trying to decide what order I want to put them in. So kind of like that. And here's the score line and the edge of it, that strip. I'm going to center this between the score line and the edge. So I'm going to add my Stampin' Seal Plus there. And then I'm going to line up. I want my first panel to be an image. You can have yours be a greeting. I want mine to be one of the sheep. So I'm going to try to line it up top to bottom and then center it side to side and press. And then my next one. Oh no, that came off. Uh-oh. Just messed that up. I'll fix that later. I'll go to the next thing that I've got here. And I got the old fast fuse here. I hope that I can make this one work. Get me to the end. Okay, so I'm going to put my greeting. So I want to try to line up the edge. I want it to go pretty straight. And then center from side to side. Then the next one, I want it to be an image. Trying to line up across the bottom again. And then center from score line to score line. That's that. And I'm going to add my last image. It's going to be my last greeting. So a quick recap is we put our DSP onto our basic white and added to the front. Then we added our other two pieces of DSP to the inside of the card. We added our strip of cardstock that matched our card base. Then we took and stamped our greeting on the piece of basic white and added it to our cardstock. And then that layering we added to the front of our card. On the inside, we took our basic white squares and I added grass and my greetings. So you can make them all greetings. You can make them all images. That's up to you. Then I layered them onto the cardstock that matched my card base. Then I added them just along the strip on the back of these. So on the backs of here, there's no glue on the bottom or the top. And the glue's just on the two end pieces here. So that's where we are so far with our card. So it's starting to come together. Now then, I'm going to set this up here to the top. I'm going to bring in my mini Stampin' Cut Emboss machine. All right. And my plates. I need plate 1, plate 2, and then I'm going to cut out the sheep. So this one here, I'm going to add the die cut. And these are pieces of score tape, so I'm going to add that there. And then the little party hat, run that through right there. I'll add a thing. So I'm putting my party hat in my first sheep. I'm going to add the cutting plate and then crank it through. Sorry if it's shaking the camera. Go really easy so it won't like hit hard. Come back. All right. Have my party hat. There's one party hat. I should have my first sheep. All right, so I'm going to scoot this, tear this part off. I'm going to add this hat. Post tape on there. Bring in my next sheep. Line him up. Use my Post-it tape. next plate on top. Run that through. Got the second sheet. Uh-oh. The second party hat. All right. So then bring in the next sheet. It's Post-it tape. It just holds it in place so it doesn't shake on you. And I'm going to scoot him up towards the top. And then I want to bring in one of my pieces of cardstock, the coordinating ones that I had. And I want to do a gate. So it doesn't matter. I'm not trying to line it up around anything. So this one I'm trying to cut out an image. This one I'm just cutting out the gate. So it doesn't matter if it slides a little bit as long as it stays on the cardstock. And I'm going to crank this through. Try not to shake the camera any. It's not that hard to run through. It's just I was trying not to shake the camera. All right. These are all little pieces of trash. Take your pick tool. Remove my gate. Okay. There's my last sheet. All right. So then I want to bring in for my sunshine. My balloon. And the grass. Let's see, which one of those do I want to use? I'll use both of them like that. And I'll set this on here. I'm going to cut them all out at the same time. Start cranking this through. So while I'm cutting out my little pieces, I'm catching up. All right. I have my sun. Set that off there. Okay, got my first balloon. I'm gonna need 2 of those. I have part of my grass or the bush. Poke this out right here. And we'll do a couple more. I don't know how many of these I'll need, but we'll do a couple more of those. I know I need another balloon. All right, And so I'll run that through next again. One of them slid, so I'm gonna try to back in place. There. See how I did. Just barely got it. There we go. So got that. Got the balloon. And get this. I like this take a pick tool. It's great for getting cardstock out of your dies. I think I used every one of the dies too. I like whenever you have a set that you get, well, I didn't use, I think there's one maybe I didn't use. I didn't use the flag. But I like when you can use all of your dies, all of your stamps. It makes it worth it while to purchase that set or to pick it for free for celebration. Okay, I'll get my trash out of the way. Start bringing my pieces in to put my card together. All right. So on the inside, oh, I just lost one of my hats. Oh, there he is. Dropped him. He's little, but I found him. Okay, so on the inside, open this up. And our guy here that's kind of like dancing, he looks like he needs to be holding a balloon. So I'm going to take a dot of glue. Maybe. Okay. And I'm going to add my balloon to his hand. Take that clothespin that I had earlier. Set him off to the side to let that dry. I'll bring in our other guy. And I'm going to pop him up on dimensionals. You don't have to. It does make your card a little bit thick by popping them up, but I think it also makes them kind of come off the layering piece that we're putting him on. So add him here like that. And then I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back of this one. Set him off to the side. All right. I don't want to put a dimensional on the back of this because when I put him on this panel, it's going to extend past. So I want to think about where I want to put the dimensional. So I'm thinking I'm just going to put it on his body and then maybe put one on the hand to help hold the balloon. So I'm going to take my minis and see if I can't, like these little pieces here, see if I can't cut just a little sliver off of that piece. So not very big, about a half of a mini. I'll add that to where we glued that balloon. And then I'm going to use regular dimensionals on the rest of it. I know his body will be on this layered piece. So remove my backings. I'm anxious to see what everybody else makes with this card pattern. So add him there. All right, that party hat that I just saved, I want to add to his head. So I'm going to use my glue again and just barely on the bottom section here. It's a bit too much, but I'm going to add to my other sheep a hat also, so I'm going to bring it in. Can't get it picked up, it's a little. Okay, so add that glue that I just knocked off on the back. And then I'm going to add this to him right there, trying to make it festive. Do an adhesive eraser on that piece of glue, or else I'll be sticking to everything. All right, so that's the inside of our card. I think it's pretty much finished. We'll work on this side. I'm going to bring in my mat. And I want to add glue to the back of my fence. I think I need to get a new glue there. It was laying down though earlier, so. All right. Before I lay it down, I want to take this other balloon. I want to tack it to the back. Oops, that's the wrong direction. Tack it to the back of the post. And my finger apparently. Okay. And then I'm going to add my fence. I don't know. Right about there. And I'm going to use one of these small dimensionals. Go ahead and take that backing off. I'll pick up this small dimensional and I'm going to tuck this behind the balloon and lay it down. This is raised up a couple of layers, so the mini dimensionals I think is about the right height for what I would need that. Put the glue here. Might get covered up. Let's see. All right. So now then, we're going to take the sun. And add glue to the back of that. Go. Add that right up here in the corner. Bring in this little guy. I want to add him, I don't know, about right there. All right, now it's time for the grass or the little shrubs. So on the back of these, I'm going to put dimensionals. Okay. And tuck this one right here. And then this one, whoops, I'll tuck right here. I think I'll add that one about there. And so here is my card. Goes out of the way. This out of the way. Clean up my area here a little bit. All right. So I've got my little guy. He's jumping for the balloon. There's the sun. Here's the greeting. You open it up, and here's your inside greetings. There, focused. And so he's got a balloon. He's got a party hat. If I wanted, I could cut another party hat and put on him. But you could sign right here, or you could put it on the back and you could sign on the back of the card. And then here is the one that I made first. Here's the one that I just made. Insides. There we go. I also, for this card, I made a project sheet giving the information and giving an image and all the dimensions. So I'll try to figure out how to post that into the description of the video. But for this right here, if I have like a piece of sequence, I could add that to it. If I wanted to, I'm certain that I could have put like maybe even another like balloon or something, and then maybe another bush to hold it. I wouldn't want to cover up the words by no means, but I can figure out a way to cover that up. And if nothing else, I can add a chalk marker to that and try to cover that up. So I'll figure something out for that. And then I think I want to add a little bit of bling. I didn't do it on my first one, but I'll just add a little bit. Make my sheep have a little bit of sparkle just on his wool. That in the sun. What's neat about the Wink of Stella is that it also helps blend out your markers. Add it to there. So when you give this card to someone and they open it up, they're going to know that there's something up with the card because it's a little bit bulky in your hand, but they're not going to know what's on the inside. And when they open it up, it's a nice little cute surprise. And I think that'll make them smile. So there you go. Thank you for joining me for my mystery stamp. I hope you enjoy this card. I think he's really cute. And if you purchase through Sale-A-Bration and you earn $50 to $100. $50 would get you the stamp set, and you could fussy cut. You would not get the fence or the little shrubs or the sun or the balloon or anything. But then if you were to place $100 item, you could get the stamp set and the dies. I think I used all the dies but one. I used every one of the stamp sets. And so this is everything that you get in your set. So I think it's a good set to have. It's cute. It could be for a kid. It could be for an adult. I like that it doesn't have to just be birthday. You could make it for a baby card. You could have like 2 or 3 of the sheep that are like jumping over the fence, and it could be for a new baby. I really like this set. I like when you can use every one of the stamps, use almost every one of the dies. It's just something that I like having in my crafting arsenal, so that, you know, I've been going to this set a lot. So there you have it. There is our cards, and that is our mystery solved. I want to thank you all for joining me.